candles are a nice touch.
Oh yeah.
To now, the spooky music you're listening to now is from the movie that you're making me watch today, which is Nightmare on Elm Street, the original Nightmare on Elm Street, 1984. One of my favorite movies of all time, and I'm reminded by it by watching it. But what did you guys think?
I didn't even think about the word, dude.
Schwartz, what's
Somehow
your
I came
what's your
unprepared or
word?
something.
My word is creepy. Thinking about not going to sleep because some dude's gonna kill you is pretty fucking scary.
Jake, go ahead.
Practical.
Practical.
I was there were great practical effects, and it was well made, and it was very practical.
Cool.
What about you, Anthony? What did you think?
I going along with Schwartz's. I chose listening to him say creepy, spooky. I think it's a very spooky movie. It's a ghost chasing you around. It's a spooky movie. Spooky movie.
I thought about saying spooky, but I didn't want to say spooky because it's too similar to creepy. So I'm glad you still got to say spooky.
I'm gonna say
I'm
spooky.
glad you still got your word. No,
I'm sticking to my word. I didn't
yeah.
come up with a secondary word.
Good, sticking to it.
You think it's cool to play this music?
It's Spotify, right? Who
You
cares?
could get sued by New Line Cinema for it.
New Line.
New Line.
The house that Freddie built is what they say due to this financial success of this film.
That's what
Do you
they
guys know
say.
that? Do you guys know that?
I said that once, but I was alone in an elevator and nobody heard. So.
Was it about New Line or just like a random house that some guy named Freddie built?
Well, it was that movie we tried to watch once, the house that Freddie built.
Oh, it was Jack.
That's why we never did. I watched the wrong movie.
Yeah.
I watched this one.
Yeah. And then Schwartz ruined the other one anyway, so.
Nobody
cares?
ruined the movie. You guys are just vaginas.
I'll ruin this movie right now.
Well, we watched it already, so.
Yeah, but people listening maybe didn't watch. Davidson's never seen this movie.
They should have fucking watched it before they listened to this movie because we're definitely
Nobody
going to
does
spoil
that.
it.
Nobody does that.
Well, we're definitely going to spoil it, so go ahead and spoil it.
What's this movie about? Is your question? I'll answer that. This movie's about like basic fears, nightmares. Not only like what your nightmare is about, just nightmares in general, and then I guess specifically about this murderer, but it's about, and literally it's about a guy who was a child killer who escaped justice, and the parents of the neighborhood, rather than relying on the court system who failed them, took justice into their own hands and burnt him to death. And then he now comes back in their child's dreams, taking his revenge.
That's fucking creepy.
That is creepy.
And I like how we don't learn that till about halfway through the movie either.
It is cool.
Takes a while to get there.
It's cool. I mean, it starts out with it starts out very confusing, I guess, if you don't really know what it's about, which I never really thought about before because I grew up with this movie. So I don't remember not knowing who Freddie was or whatever. You know, I always knew
right
who he was.
That's true. Yeah. No, I knew going into this, I knew that Freddie haunted people in their dreams. So I kind of, that was already like a known.
I wish I could have seen this movie for the first time.
Going in, right?
Freddie, Michael Myers, Jason Voorhees. Those are the three that you pretty much think about when you think about horror villains.
In this era, yeah. He is
tier.
a staple. He is an OG of the 80s and 90s era movies. Yeah. Maybe just 80s.
Mr. Myers came from the 70s. Mr. Myers, I call him because he's older than everyone, and I respect.
Who's scarier? Who's scarier, Michael Myers or Freddy Krueger?
I was thinking about this question because I knew it would be answered, and I think physically it's Freddy, but I think that Freddy is kind of comedic, so his scariness gets taken down a notch. Where Michael Myers is he's just like the Terminator coming after you. He's kind of just not giving up. You know what I mean? Freddy's funny, and Freddy has more creative ways of killing you, so he's more enjoyable. But
he's more Myers creative.
Michael Myers is a little creepier to me.
I remember him being like, I in my head, I always think Freddy's like this clever, quick-witted kind of killer of Beyond. But in the first movie, he's not. In the first movie, he's not serious, but he's not like joking around like he
Well, it's
does
because he's
in
Fred
the later
Krueger right
movies.
now. He becomes Freddy Krueger when he gets funny.
Yeah, he's giggling a lot throughout the
Yeah.
film. So
You notice that?
there's a menacing giggle going on throughout.
Not only that, but you notice in the credits, it's Fred Krueger. It's not Freddy Krueger, which I thought was interesting.
I still think he says
Yeah.
Freddy in the film. I think he refers
he's
himself as Freddy.
Nancy calls him Freddy at least a couple times. But I mean, yeah, he's Fred in this movie. He's Fred Krueger.
I think they refer to him as past tense and as Fred because I think it says that on the hat
But
as well.
in later movies,
He's Freddy.
He's Freddy, and he is much more funny. He's much more silly.
Mm-hmm.
Especially in the second one. In the third one, it's a little more serious. And then by the time, I mean, it gets a little off the handle by the time he gets to the sixth, seventh one. But then back to New Nightmare, he gets real scary again.
Okay.
But
very
this
menacing.
movie,
After seeing this movie, I think New Nightmare would probably be the one I'd want to watch the most, just because of what it is, because of the story of it. I think that's a pretty clever way of Wes Craven going back to something he created. I think that's a pretty cool idea.
yes, correct. And it's Wes Craven again. This is the only of the 8 movies he's only directed this one and the New Nightmare. But what'd you think about this movie? I think this movie's iconic. I think this movie is introduced one of the greatest horror villains of all time.
I think that's what this movie will be always remembered for, is that right there. It's giving you a horror icon right there. You know what I mean? Along with Jason Voorhees, Michael Myers, Leatherface, Pinhead, all these other people you can name. Freddy's in that upper echelons of them. Freddy's probably top 3. I guarantee you, out of all the horror movies that people can name, Freddy's probably always in one of the 3 you name.
Definitely out of those 3. I think you nailed it. Like those top 3, and they were like became
Michael,
franchises.
Freddy, and then
Michael, Freddy, and Jason.
You want to be
Jason.
I guess it has to be Jason because later on they fight.
They do fight. Uh-huh.
Like maybe good. Leatherface is up there with them, but I still think
Leatherface is in there. Even
those 3 are the iconic ones of
that. Leatherface is in there. Leatherface different, and so is Ash from Evil Dead. Did you notice that they were watching Evil Dead in this movie?
There's a lot of Evil Dead.
Oh no, I noticed.
Well, there's Evil Dead. They go back and forth.
Yeah.
I guess he had his claw in Evil Dead.
Yeah, Sam Raimi put the claw in Evil Dead too. Yeah.
They're friends.
Okay. Yeah, of course. They're independent filmmakers who became big on making independent films. Did you guys read a lot about Wes Craven for this? I did. It was actually the first time I read up on Wes Craven more than I thought I would. And
tell me, dude.
33 when he made this movie. His first movie was made at 33, which is pretty cool. That's not late in life, but that's most filmmakers make their first film at like 27 or 28. So he was a little bit behind. But he
was his first film was 33 or this he was 33?
I'm sorry. He was 33 when he made his first movie, which is Last House on the Left. He was much later when he made this movie. But my point is that he made films a little bit later in life compared to other directors. And
this was his third movie.
He was trying to make like films like Ingmar Bergman and like Stanley Kubrick of like just like upper echelon type of movies, and he never was able to do it. So he was working for this one dude, I forget his name, but he was the owner of New Line Cinema. And he's like, man, they want a horror movie. You want to try making a horror movie? And he went and wrote Last House on the Left, and it was just a fucking hit. And then from there, he just kept going, which is pretty awesome.
He found a good niche that he was good at.
And Last House on the Left was a polarizing film. That's up there with like Cannibal Holocaust and the way it made people feel, you know.
And what was the movie we just watched? Zombievers. Listen,
dude.
Anybody gets their dick bit off, goes into that, which I don't think we talked about in Zombievers. But whatever. We missed that opportunity.
The dick bite.
Dude guy's dick bit off, which happens in Last House on the Left, at least the original one.
Yeah, it does. That movie's pretty fucked up, man. It's
pretty fucked up.
What's cool about that movie is it's not a horror in the convention of ghosts or goblins or demons. It's straight up just people fucking being terrible people.
I think I gotta watch. I think they remade that, right? There was like
they did, but it's terrible. It doesn't do it justice.
I think I saw that one and it wasn't very good. I never saw.
They also remade the movie we're watching today.
Yeah, they did.
They have. I never saw that either.
I saw a little bit of it. Wasn't interested.
They put back the whole child molester aspect into that one, which I read they took out of this one originally because it was made at a time where in California there were a bunch of child murders and child molestation cases, so they took it out for their.
I don't think they need they did. It was he was sexual without being sexual. It was enough. It was enough
he definitely
to
gets sexier in the other ones, like with his humor and shit.
No, they just make it clear that he fucking was a child molester. Yeah.
Well, what I mean is that in the later ones, because I watched a documentary about this too the other night, is that Freddy, like you said, becomes more of a comedy guy, and I guess he makes sexual innuendos in a lot of them, which I didn't think was a thing, but I guess it is.
Well, in these movies, it's Friday the 13th. This movie, it's all teen sex, murder, death.
Yeah.
Just has that elements in the later ones, especially a little bit in this one, but in the later ones, especially the second one, is borderline a gay porn. If you watch it, let me know.
Interesting.
It's a great movie, but
I'm intrigued by the continuation.
The gay porn aspect?
I'm intrigued to continue the lineage of the Freddy movies or the Nightmare movies. I don't know if I've seen any other ones. Other than I've seen Freddy vs. Jason for sure.
I always say that number 3 is my fave.
Right. I at least want to get there, and then I want to maybe hop to the New Nightmare. Probably 1, 2, 3, and then go to New Nightmare. Because I read that the main character, whoever plays Nancy, is in the third one, and then she's in New Nightmare. So maybe kind of follow that.
After the third one, I'm not sure how many she's in, but yeah. She wasn't. The second one was a completely random script that somebody wrote in the mailroom. They're like, all right, let's make that one, and she was not in it at all. And then the third one, they brought her back, which is great. Maybe that's why I like the third one, because I liked Nancy. What's her name? Heather Blancombe or something.
Mm-hmm. I guess Then did they explain the ending in the third one? Because the ending of this movie is super fucking confusing.
Yeah.
Dead, right? I thought she was dead too at the end of this.
Who was dead? Nancy?
I mean, she dies.
It's like
right? It's implied.
No, it's like she almost makes a deal with. It seems like she's trying to make a deal with Freddy, and then she like walks through the door, and then her mom's still alive and her friends are still alive, like almost like she went back in time.
Yeah. So
but then Freddy was like the car.
That's the problem.
Freddy then it became all dream sequency, and so it was very like a weird.
That wasn't supposed to be a dream sequence. I think the original ending was her turning her back on Freddy, and because Freddy feeds off of fear. That's why he doesn't kill him right away. That's why he doesn't kill the kids. He plays with his food a little bit. He scares them. He likes the fear.
Cool.
He relies on the fear. And if you watch Freddy versus Jason, they really explain that. Like this is how he survived. This is you have to fear. Once you fear him, that brings him back. And the more you fear him, the stronger he gets.
Yeah, which is cool.
It's so cool. So he relies on that, and he loves and so when she turns her back on him and says, "You're just a fucking dream. I'm not afraid of you," or whatever she says, that takes all of his power away, and he dies. That's how the movie was supposed to end, Wes Craven style. Wes Craven said that's where he was going to end it. The additional producer on the movie who funded the whole thing, I forget his name, he wanted a more of an open ending. Wes Craven never wanted a sequel to this movie. He never thought it was possible. But obviously, it was a great empire of nightmare movies. So it's supposed to end with her dying, him dying, her going out. Her mom's not an alcoholic anymore. They live happily ever after. Boom. That's the end. No sequels. He was persuaded into making the car Freddy, I guess. I don't know. And he's in real life. They're not dreaming now. Is this a dream? I don't know. It was very confusing.
Yeah, I didn't like the ending at all. I was like, what the fuck is going on here? Like, I wasn't sure what was up. And what's crazy is that Wes Craven wasn't involved in any of the sequels except for like till New Nightmare. So he probably checked off all of them.
I think he wrote the third one.
He wrote it?
Wes Craven?
I think they brought him back to write it.
I don't know. I don't know about that. He definitely didn't direct it. I don't know if he had a hand in writing it.
He did a lot of other shit before he went back to New Nightmare too. I mean, he did a lot of movies.
Well, yeah, there was like 10, 15 years in between those.
Yeah. What I thought was interesting that I didn't realize is that I thought he made Less House on the Left, then Hills Have Eyes, and then this, but he made like 3 or 4 other movies before this, like a lot of movies I had never even heard of. And he made another movie that I really want to see now called The Serpent and the Rainbow, which is about a dude who goes to Africa and gets involved with voodoo. And I really, really want to see that. And it stars the great President Bill Pullman.
What's it
He
called?
was a great president.
Yeah.
Yeah, but this movie was good.
It's a great movie.
I thought it was good. It was legitimately a good movie. It was legitimately scarier than I thought. Again, it's a villain that I've always loved. It was scarier than I just remember. It was spookier than I remember. I think because I'm clouded by the newer ones and how cartoonish they got. But this one's very, very spooky. It's very, very scary. It's a scary fucking movie. It's a scary concept.
Yeah, the concept is what's scariest, to think that, like, because everyone's got to sleep and everyone dreams, especially when you're young. It's like you dream a lot and
everyone has nightmares.
Yeah, and to think that, like, so did you guys hear what he based this on? Like,
I did, but
so
explain.
And it's pretty cool. I guess the long story short, there were a bunch of people from Asia who were involved in some sort of, was it an experiment or was it like something to where they had to flee the country? And then when they got to America,
they're Southeast Asian refugees.
Refugees, that's what it is. They were refugees. And when they got to America, I guess, they started all having weird dreams and they ended up dying, right? They ended up, a couple of them died.
I think only one of them.
A couple of, well, they were all a few of them died. And one of them was saying, like, the main dude was saying, I can't sleep. I don't want to sleep.
Yeah.
The parents were giving him like sleeping pills and shit.
And he stopped taking them, was drinking coffee.
he never took them at all. He would just put them, and then when he'd get into his room, he'd stuff them under his pillow.
Yeah. And then one night he fell asleep at the dinner table or something, and his dad like put him up to bed, and the next day he was like dead.
Yeah, he woke up.
And then
he woke up screaming, and they went into his bed, and before they could get to him, he fell dead.
And then Wes Craven was like, "Yeah, that's got to be a fucking movie."
And yeah, he was, and they later found out that he was spitting out the pills. He wasn't taking the sleeping pills that they were trying to give him. He was trying to stay awake, and he had a fucking Mr. Coffee hidden in his closet, which is just amazing. And that's exactly what happened in these movies.
Yeah, I mean, that's the first girl's death with the dude who watches her die. It's the same fucking thing.
So he goes, what happened? Why? Why did this guy die? Why was he afraid to fall asleep? What was in his dreams?
Yeah.
That made him so scared?
And he came up with Mr. Krueger.
Mr. Krueger. Jake,
Robert
what do you think about this movie?
Pretty amazing in this movie. He's pretty awesome.
Who? Damon Wayans?
Robert Englund.
Oh yeah, he's
amazing. Surprisingly small.
Like in height?
Yeah, like when he was almost like as big as the girls. He was just like, yeah. And like,
that scene with the arm, that was kind of funny. When he was kind of golluming after her too. He was like moving like Gollum kind of does. Right. It was pretty fucking funny.
Yeah, but overall, I definitely liked it. It's like we've said before, definitely a classic horror. I liked the balance of comedy and horror. I know this is something we've like talked about a lot in the past with like the usage, and I think this was like this stayed a horror film with sprinkling in the right amount of comedy just to keep it light at times when it's like, because those sequences with Freddy are fucking scary, but he is a little funny because he does have a little laugh. He is slightly humorously menacing, but not like over. Like I think in the sequels, like you were saying, I'm sure it's way worse. But like, yeah, he's it's pretty scary. It's definitely a scary movie. I know we've talked about the dream thing, so that setting of like the dreams, but with that slight goofiness of Freddy still is like, it's a good balance.
And I think that's what sets him apart from both Jason and Michael Myers, is those guys don't say a word. Those guys are stoic as fuck.
He has a personality.
Terrifying. Yeah. This is somebody who is just as terrifying, but also is gonna fuck with you. Like you said, he takes joy in the cat and mouse game of it. Like even when she's like, "Mom, are you there?" and he comes out and goes, "I'm here." You know what I mean? Like it's him fucking.
He fucks with them. He cool. Thrives off of the fear
because he's still laughing. You know, like he's still laughing the whole time. Like it's creepy. That it's certainly a fucking creepy thing. And I liked the effects they use with like the gore, with like the what is it, like that the upside down tilting wall room effect they had with that shit.
Yeah. They had a like an Exorcist style tilting room. Did they do that in The Exorcist?
So I read how they did that too. The wall was covered with latex, and they just literally squeezed the art director's face through it, and it worked perfectly.
Oh yeah.
No, not that one. When
But
they
we're
were
talking about
like
the whole
killing her
room.
on like the
first
ceiling
death.
and shit.
Remember the first death?
Yeah, that's the one I'm talking about, isn't it?
No, the first death is Tina, I think her name
Yeah,
is.
Tina. Which
She's
again I thought was a cool thing because
she's
like
banging her boyfriend.
yeah.
Oh yeah. You're right. My bad. Yeah, you're right.
To me, that's like that must be like a Wes Craven thing because for a while you think she's the lead character.
Well, he
And
said he
she's
did
one
that
of the first death.
perfectly
Yeah.
to be like Psycho. He wanted the Psycho vibe where you think the main chick's going to be the girl that catches you the whole movie, then 20 minutes in, she's dead, which is pretty awesome.
A movie where I don't know who's gonna die is the movie that I like to
Yeah.
watch.
Yeah, no, I
And
agree.
he did it with Scream. Is this movie Scream or was Scream just this movie but
did
with a
do it
different
with
killer?
Scream.
There was so many
It
similarities.
has nothing to
with
do with Scream.
I
Name
think Wes
7
Craven
similarities other than the director.
Okay,
I think Wes Craven just brought back something he does well with Scream. You know what I mean? Scream was definitely his resurgence, and
yeah.
you can argue Scream, this movie, Last House on the Left, and Hills Have Eyes are the movies he will always be remembered for.
Yeah, the town felt the same. Like a lot of the characters felt like they would have just living in the same town.
Sure.
Springwood, Ohio? No way.
Yeah, what Johnny Depp's character reminded me so
Johnny
much.
Depp, by the way.
Sure.
Introducing Johnny Depp. That's what it says in the credits.
It's his first movie.
First film.
Anyway, Johnny Depp reminds me very much of the Skeet Ulrich character of Scream. Like he looked almost like I'm sure Skeet Ulrich was like modeled after Johnny Depp. Even the scene where like he goes and like climbs into like the main character's window. There's like it's like the same scene of like when Johnny Depp climbed into her window. I just saw all these little like same. It looked like they were at the same school. Like where the school looked identical.
It is. Maybe it's the same world.
Was it the same school as Ferris Bueller? I thought of that and I didn't look it up. But it looks like the same front where the principal's standing on the front.
Right. A lot of schools look like
he's
that.
like, oh, that's how that family is.
Yeah.
That's such a good movie.
Such a good movie.
Could be. The Midwest.
Yeah.
Well, it's in California. This is all in California.
But it's supposed to take place in Ohio.
Supposed to.
1428 Elm Street.
1428 Elm Street. You know, I've had 1428 as a part of my like email and PIN number for my ATM card.
So would you say this is your go-to horror movie, Anthony?
Copy.
When you think of horror movie, is this your numero uno or what?
Yes.
And why is that? Is it because you saw it before you saw it?
I think it's because
Freddy just that cool.
I just fell in love with him for some reason. I spent $70 of my hard-earned money on a box set of these movies. I watched every single one over and over again. I don't know. There was a moment where I chose Freddy as my guy, and I don't know why, but
I think it's because if you were a serial killer, you would be as funny as Freddy. That's my personal theory.
I think I liked his personality. When I watched this movie, when I first saw these movies, I did not separate this one from any other one. I didn't separate Wes Craven's Nightmare from any of the other movies. I just watched them all, one back to back over and over again. And I just loved all of them. And I think that's where I got I have an average, a mean attitude that I know Freddy as. That is not represented in this movie. This movie is much spookier than I remember. It's much spookier than all the other movies. And that's I think just a credit to Wes Craven. Wes Craven knows how to get under your skin. Wes Craven knows how to scare you, even though it's silly. There's like 6 silly parts in here that are like, oh, well, that's a little silly, but it's still spooky enough to spook me today, even though I grew up on it.
The thing about horror movies too is that the silliness doesn't really matter. You know what I mean? It's when you go into a horror movie, you're kind of giving up that caring of if it's a little silly, is it not? Because it's just anything could happen, you know. I mean, and
you hardly see his face too.
Yeah,
it's all dark, very very dark.
Yeah.
There's not a lot of Freddy. He's used well. Like there's enough Freddy.
There's enough Freddy. He's like Jaws.
Right.
It's like the shark.
They could only use him sparingly.
Robert Englund.
I'm
Let's talk
sure.
about
I'm sure in
Robert
his
Englund a little bit.
because I'm sure in other movies, if I'm not mistaken, he's probably in them a lot more, right?
Yeah, probably. Yeah, probably a little more. I wouldn't say a lot more.
Okay.
But he is the character that he is the only through line character, and God bless Robert Englund. He did every single one until the remakes. He played Freddy again and again and again.
Okay.
And he did it however they wanted him to do it.
You know what's weird about Friday the 13th? Jason's not even the killer in the first one.
No, his mom is.
Yeah, so like
Mrs. Voorhees.
so does Jason just like start in the second one essentially?
Yes.
It's interesting.
That's
is she like dressed up as Jason? Is that how I remember correctly? Is she just dressed up like in that like hockey mask outfit, or do we even see the hockey mask shit?
not till the second one, I don't think. And that was the trick question in Scream, remember? In the opening scene of Scream with Drew Barrymore, that's the question that they get wrong and they all die. Who is the villain in Friday the 13th? And they'll say Jason. And he says, no, you're wrong. It was the mom.
Yeah. Interesting.
This group of filmmakers and horror movies is my favorite.
That
when you say group, you mean like Friday the 13th, Halloween?
They just they were the classic ones. Man, the first kill is epic. I'm watching it right now. It's insane.
Yeah. The dream sequences are so good. Like they're so creepy. They're so like just like the right visuals at the right times for like what they had available to them. Like really
and what's great, which happens later on in the movies a lot more, is you don't know when they're dreaming and when they're not. This was there was a couple times where it was like, I don't know, I couldn't tell, but it's like, man, it gets so subtle with them just like nodding off and then boom, they're in the dream world, which is the only place that Freddy can hurt you. What do you think about her being able to pull Freddy out of a dream?
I thought that was a pretty cool concept because it gives you, as a person, if this was happening to you, a fighting chance in a way, or at least thinking you could do something about it, which I think is pretty interesting.
That's a big plot point in Freddy versus Jason.
Yeah, it is. I remember that. I've seen that a couple of times, only because of the fun fair of it. You know what I mean? You combine those two characters. I mean, it's a terrible movie in traditional sense of the script is pretty piece of shit. It's pretty cliche and predictable, but it's fun.
Which one? This one or Freddy versus Jason?
Freddy versus Jason.
Yeah, it's a fun movie. It's
Freddy versus Jason.
Jason X. I watched Jason X like one time where he's in space, and it's just a terrible movie. But every time you kill somebody, you
can't compare those two movies. Jason X is an awful movie.
So is Freddy versus Jason.
No, Freddy versus Jason is well made, way better. It's just much better made movie.
It's really not more well made about it. It's just about a bunch of teenagers who are living their life,
better script,
hooking up, and then getting killed by Freddy or Jason. It's not better in any way.
It's better script. It's better acting. It's better set design. It's
Jason X is a cooler idea. Like
this one is in space, right?
That's awesome.
It's so bad
in space.
It's so bad. It's like a porno. That's how bad it is. It like plays like a porno.
You're right. Anthony's right. It does have the porno.
Bad.
It has a porno quality production vibe to it.
Like it was shot on VHS.
It was shot on VHS, and it's a bunch of porn actors, and it was a porn director, and it was a porn writer. And
is that true?
Bad. I'm just saying that's what it feels like.
It does feel like that. You're totally right.
The set design seems like a fucking porn set. It seems like Zack and Miri made a Jason movie. That's what that is.
When Freddy vs. Jason
in space,
still not good.
It's
still wasn't
I'm just
great,
saying it's better than Jason.
I would say Freddy vs. Jason's better than Jason X.
I put it in the same category. I can't agree with you guys.
Both sound weird.
Cool.
Both are weird.
Doesn't matter what you agree.
I did realize that after watching like this movie and having recently watched Halloween, and I've seen most of the Friday the 13th, at least parts of them all, that I can't agree with you in saying that this is my favorite genre of horror or type of horror. I'm more like the cerebral horror I like a little better than this. That doesn't necessarily show you everything. It doesn't necessarily have to be people getting killed in weird ways. It's more of the
Agreeing
psychological
with what
effects.
my favorite is and what you think is cool.
I'm saying they're not my favorite is what I'm saying. In my opinion, my favorite type of horror movies are more like cerebral horror movies like The Shining or The Witch or Hereditary
Silence
or
of the Lambs.
Midsommar or Silence of the Lambs. Yeah,
Those
like
are great. I'm just
I
saying
like
these are
those a
these are
little bit
fun
better.
these are funner movies.
Yeah.
These are more
I think
fun
this
movies.
Yeah, they're fun. They're like Evil Dead. They're just crazy. I think Evil Dead is better than Jason, Halloween, or Michael Myers, or
Cool.
Freddy Krueger. Though I think those Evil Dead, the way it turns out and the way it works, is just so much more fun. If you're talking about fun,
I'm just gonna say this now. We
Why
can
you
edit this
gotta
out if we
compare
want
them
to. Is something happened with your audio, Schwartz? Something
Yeah,
sounds
your mic.
weird.
You sound like
You got way went hot or something. You got way louder suddenly.
ready to go.
Baba Booey.
Baba Booey. What was your favorite scene? Oh, the teacher in the movie. She's in a bunch of like modern day horror movies. Insidious. I think
Yeah, the
mostly
older
Insidious.
lady. The older
Yeah.
lady in Insidious. Yeah.
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 And she OG
That's
fucking
right.
movies here, dude. OG horror biatch. You know what I'm saying?
Another thing I wanted to say too is I think James Wan, some of his movies, whether it be Conjuring or Dead Silence, draw a lot from this movie. They draw a lot from this movie for sure. They take a lot of the visuals and just the eeriness from this.
The
I think
actors.
is probably a pretty big influence on James Wan. And I think that's why you like James Wan movies so much.
Probably. I'm a huge Wes Craven fan. I'm a huge James Wan fan.
Yeah.
Don't tell me what I like.
And they both made their first film as kind of like a shock horror movie too. James Wan's first film was Saw, and that was wasn't necessarily dealing with ghosts or something. It had to do with real life fucked up shit, which is the same.
Ready?
My
Here we
thoughts on
go.
the left.
He doesn't want me to cut through the chains. He wants me to cut through my foot. That was my Saw monologue.
No,
The ending of Saw 1 was one of the best endings ever when the guy gets up and he's been in the middle of the rooms the whole time, and then he just shuts the door on the guy, and you're like, wow,
Game
that guy's never
over.
leaving that room, dude.
I've never seen it.
That movie's so good.
Such a good movie.
No, I've seen it.
You have seen it?
I have. I've seen Saw.
I
I
was
think
gonna
I've only
say.
seen the first
Because
Saw. Maybe
we
the
haven't seen
second
a James
Saw.
Wan movie.
Yeah. I've
If we're
seen
gonna
the
watch a
first
James
Saw.
Wan movie, we gotta watch Dead Silence. That's his most slept on one. People don't give that enough credit. It's fucking creepy as hell.
Well, I don't think I've seen Dead Silence.
It's about a woman named Mary Shaw who might or might not have killed kids and gets killed by a group of parents, and she comes back.
Wait, are you serious?
Kinda. It's kind of the same, yeah.
And you're saying he kind of draws his inspiration
A
from
little bit.
Wes
She's a
Craven?
woman. She controls dolls. The
The
dolls kill
woman.
people.
Her name's
Mary
Dreddy Brugger.
Her name's Debbie Kruger. Debbie Kruger.
Damn it. Debbie's way better than
Because
whatever the fuck I just
didn't
said.
Wan just direct *Malignant*? Did he direct
Yes, that movie
Yeah.
is doo-doo.
that? That movie was fucking
Eh,
booty. Yeah,
It was
sucked.
mediocre.
I wanted to like it so much because I thought it was actually a pretty cool idea in the beginning, and the opening scene really intrigued me. I was like, "What the fuck is going on?" And then it just got bad.
Terrible turns. It was
Got bad.
It was bad. It was real bad.
If James
I want
Wan,
to
if you're
talk about that
listening, we love you.
Yeah, we love you. Except *Malignant* sucked.
Johnny Depp, if you're listening, shout out.
Yeah, good work.
Robert Englund, love you. Loved you in Paper Brigade.
Yeah.
Well, you guys little thinkers on that one. Favorite scene. My favorite scene was Johnny Depp getting sucked into his bed
That was pretty dope.
and then
scene.
spit out. And I also heard that his head was supposed to pop out
Yeah, I read
and
that.
then go like, "Bleh," and then like get sucked back under. But I think like the room got all fucked up with the blood. Then they couldn't continue shooting.
Yeah, that's probably my favorite scene too, just because of that's like an iconic scene when the blood just goes pouring up towards the ceiling. Like that was pretty awesome.
Or the first death. If we're talking deaths, my favorite death was the first death because it was
that was sweet.
terrifying and gruesome and like gravity defying.
That's the one where the dude's watching her die, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was pretty fucked up. I think that's what makes it more fucked up is dudes like
Yeah.
just watching it happen.
and then he gets convicted of, or he gets
Yeah,
arrested for
how
it.
do you explain that? You're like, nah, dude, I didn't do shit. She was just getting thrown around the room and now her fucking shit sliced open. I'd be like, yeah, okay, cool idea, dude. You didn't kill her.
Yeah, that dream sequence was awesome. They did a good job with that. And I really liked the one that after that where Nancy had at her school. That whole sequence where she like would see the body bag and she followed the body bag and
Ugh.
that whole thing. That
The
was
body
super
bag gets
creepy.
lifted up
Yeah.
by like some kind of invisible man and pull. Oh yeah, that was terrifying.
And
That's
then she
also
like
echoed in
burns herself
Freddy
awake.
vs.
Yeah.
Jason.
Okay, nice. Yeah, like that. It was very familiar looking. I couldn't remember if I've like. I feel like I have seen this movie like in high school, but I just don't remember it because I remember some of like the visually some of the stuff was familiar, but overall it was a new movie to me.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff
But
that
things
pays
like that.
homage in Freddy vs. Jason.
Yeah,
to the original movie.
There was just so much about this movie that was familiar in general. Like it seemed like a movie that like used cliches, or like was it that this was like the original movie that just like things were like based off of, you know what I mean? Like it's just,
Yeah.
What things you talking about?
Cliches were made from this movie.
Yeah, like I guess like the teenage horror concept, like
Well, that was in Halloween. That was in
Halloween.
that was in Friday the 13th. I think the thing that came out of this movie was he made a killer that would talk to you, that would fuck with you, that would taunt you, as opposed to just straight up just trying to murder you without like saying anything or anything. I mean, like I think that's what sets this apart is that Freddy was genuinely like comedic. Like that's pretty awesome.
I think the number one takeaway from these movies is the villain. Excuse me. The villain.
Yeah.
COVID. The number one thing that this movie has to offer, this movie's best export is the badass villain. I don't think there's, and that's to put to the test in the 8 sequels.
Yeah.
Starring the one same dude. It's like the Tremors movies.
Can I change my word to iconic instead of practical?
Iconic?
No,
yeah,
Iconic.
no.
Yeah,
practical.
Just edit it back.
You already had the disrespect.
Just
locking it in.
Pull it back.
All right, then everybody be quiet. You just say iconic, and then I'll add it in the beginning.
Cool. Here we go. Iconic.
Perfect.
Iconic.
Great movie.
Great movie.
I liked this movie more than I thought I would. More than I thought. I don't know, because I know I liked it, but I did. I enjoyed it more than I thought I was going to, because I haven't seen it for a long time. Even though I know I love the movie, I was watching it, and there was I haven't seen it for so long that there were things that I didn't remember. Toward the middle and end, I was like, I was watching it almost for the first time again. So that I enjoyed, and then the fact that it was spookier than I remember. Though that was my biggest takeaway from it. It's like this is like Saw, in how you can create something awesome and then it kind of gets diluted toward in the sequels. I feel like this falls in that. I shouldn't remember the average of the movies. I should remember this movie. This movie was much better than any of the other following.
What's crazy about this movie too, I don't know if you guys read anything about it, was like they had to like stop making this movie right before they went into production. Like they were like 3 days from like going into production, and I guess the company that was originally funding like $1 million of it like dropped out because they didn't know if it was gonna make money. So the guy who owned New Line was like, well, everyone's got to go home. And then like 4 or 5 days later, he came back and he was like, we found the extra money somewhere. And I guess what happened was he put up like 20 grand to pay the crew, I guess. Cause I guess back then the crew would cost 20 grand to shoot for the first like 2 weeks. So he put it up. And then inside of those 2 weeks, they came up with the other money, which is pretty fucking crazy, man.
Wow.
That's a wild fucking thing.
That's a confidence in whatever they're putting out, I guess, right?
For sure.
He knew.
I mean, it's a confidence
he knew it was gonna be good.
Wes Craven and the idea of that he has, I guess. I mean, there were a lot of, and the chick who played what's her name, Nancy, Heather Langenkamp. She beat out Demi Moore and Courtney Cox, those who went out to have pretty great careers.
I've never heard of either of them, but that's good.
I love
Courtney Cox.
Sure, they're great.
Also in a Wes Craven movie, like 20 years later.
The Scrams.
What?
The Scrams.
Oh, yeah,
The-
yeah,
The
yeah.
Shriek.
I forget
Scream.
she turns into an Arcot.
Yes.
Yeah.
She's a. There's a cop in Scream. There's a cop in Nightmare on Elm Street. Connection.
Charlie Sheen was offered this role, but wanted too much money.
I read
Which
that
role?
too. I read that.
The
Did you
role
read what,
of
That role?
Nancy.
Did you read what the original concept of Freddy was? He was like a little bit different looking.
Like
was he
way
be
more
handsome?
realistic, right?
Well, this is what it says right here. Wes Craven's original concept for Freddy Krueger was considerably more gruesome, with teeth showing through the flesh over the jaw, pus running down from the sores, and part of the skull showing through his head. And then the makeup artist named David B. Miller argued that Robert Englund wouldn't be able to pull off this character if that shit was happening, so they scaled it down a little bit.
Man, it looked like a pizza.
Yeah, here he does kind of look like a pizza. So I guess if there was pus running out of his head and his teeth were showing, it would have been a little much.
Yeah, they were able to throw in the creepy shit here and there with like cutting himself open and having maggots and shit.
Well, that's another thing I
There were
want to
those
talk
creepy
about.
moments.
There's a lot of iconic Freddy transformations in the new movie, the other movies too. Like one I remember is the giant face of Freddy that becomes and like he tries to eat the person. Like that to me is the coolest.
Like the worm, right?
Yeah.
That's in the third one.
Yeah, that's a pretty cool. That's what's cool about this character too, is that he like transforms into shit. Like it
He
almost
turns
reminds
into a
me of
TV in the third one because this girl's
Yeah.
watching. She's staying up watching TV, and then she passes out, wakes
Yeah.
up, and then she's like, and then again, those are the times where you're like, is she still dreaming, or is she awake? Is she dreaming now? And then she walks up to the TV. His arms come out of the TV and kill her. It's great. And then Lawrence Fishburne finds her. It's fucking great.
Yeah, I saw Patricia Arquette's in that movie too.
Oh yeah, that's the one who dies. That's the one. That's the death I'm talking about.
Oh, okay.
She burns herself with cigarettes. He turns into a marionette, like a puppet master. The second one, he's like pulling dudes' dicks off in the bathroom and throwing ball sacks at him. It's great.
You know, Craven worked with another Arquette in Scream. Two
Well, yeah.
Arquettes, kind of. If you
Well,
want
it
to
was-
count Courtney Cox.
It was one
As a
Arquette, and
second
then
Arquette.
she married.
Kind of a.
Did they not meet on Scream?
They did.
I think they did.
Yeah.
So
Are
by
they
Scream,
still together?
I don't believe so. David Arquette's an indie wrestler now, and Courtney
Wait,
Cox is
what?
doing. David Arquette's a wrestler now.
Like a professional wrestler?
Yeah, kind of professional, but he's like in the indie scene of professional wrestling. He does stuff. There's like a
What do you guys think of
documentary
the-
called David Arquette Will Never Die or something like that. I forgot what it was called, but there's a doc about it.
No, he'll just
No,
get shot in the
no.
spine and be gimpy for the
Yeah.
rest of his life.
Or watch the Nick Gage episode of Dark Side of the Ring, and then there's a whole David Arquette's
Really?
piece with that. Yeah,
I think I was about to watch that one.
watch that one. You'll
All
see
right.
David Arquette in it.
I
Don't
thought
you-
the cinematography in this movie was pretty great. There's a lot of depth to all these nightmare scenes. Like, and when I say depth, I mean like depth in lighting. Like it was dark, but there was always something crazy going on in the back
Yeah.
with like some sort of lighting gag. And I read that the DP wore an eye patch when he was shooting this movie, so that he didn't ever see anything else out of his other eye. So
to look spookier?
Wait, so what would he like remove the eye patch to look into it?
No, so he would use his right eye to look into the thing, and his left eye he would wear an eye patch, so that the only thing he saw was what he was looking at through the
Oh,
viewfinder.
so he just wore an eye patch while he was. Well,
Yeah,
I think it was probably
Not
to
like
look,
all the
look
time.
menacing.
No,
You want
he
to look
would wear it
menacing
all
to
the
the
time
crew.
on set too, but for some reason, like to just only see what they were shooting. You know what I mean?
old
Like,
Pirate Steve.
yeah, which is
Honest-
actually pretty awesome because the cinematography of this movie was above average for a horror movie. Like, it's pretty great. Like,
I think this whole movie is above average for a horror movie. I think,
No, it is.
I think it's a step above all the other movies we've named in the contemporary era.
I don't know about Halloween because Halloween
Maybe
was
not
pretty
Halloween.
game-changing. Halloween was a
Yeah.
game changer.
Maybe
but
not
for-
Halloween because this movie follows Halloween's footsteps.
for sure.
So,
In a way.
Score.
but I think this movie does have a leg up on just story, script, acting. I think everything in these movies are a little above average when it comes to cinematography, when it comes to the contemporary movies.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think this is I don't want to say it's the birth of contemporary horror movies, but it might be that. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it definitely inspired a lot of people, whether it be Eli Roth, James Wan, fucking I'm sure Ari Aster and Robert Eggers, even though they don't make this type of horror, would still tell you that this movie had a fucking influence on them for sure.
Whether this movie or not, Wes Craven.
Oh, for sure. Wes Craven's iconic. When you think of Wes Craven,
Exactly.
when you think of horror movies, Wes Craven's in the top 3 or 4 people you
here,
name.
I challenge you. Who's the director of Friday the 13th? Go.
That I do not know.
I don't know.
Exactly.
But I do know that John Carpenter made
John
Halloween.
Carpenter.
You know
John
what I mean?
Carpenter is the
Yes.
fucking man. I love John Carpenter.
Yes,
I take John Carpenter
He's
over Wes Craven most days.
I'll take John Carpenter over Wes Craven only because his body of work is a little better. But I think Wes Craven is definitely as iconic as John Carpenter in his own way.
I think if we're talking about the horror of, it doesn't matter. I think they're equal, but I agree that John Carpenter has gone on to do better things.
This is the thing. The Thing is one of my top 3 favorite horror movies. That's one of the best horror movies ever made. And I know this is in people's top 3, and I guess I'd put it in my top 10, but I think The Thing is just above most every other horror movie.
This is certainly making its way into my tops though. Like, this was great for like a classic horror. It was fucking great. And I'm almost glad I haven't like seen the sequels yet, because I don't want to. I'm glad I can just have my lone opinion on the OG and just like appreciate it for what it was without like, I don't want the sequels to taint it. I know sometimes they can later, and maybe they will, maybe they won't. I'll probably watch more.
I think because of your awareness, I think you won't let them taint it, but
okay.
But I mean, that's the thing, is I grew up on all of them without any distinction. I never thought until later in my years that this was the first, like only the first one was Wes Craven. That never crossed my mind. I just the whole body of Freddy I was a fan of. So I think it did taint me just because I grew up like that. But now, I mean, it's clear this is the superior movie of any of them. This is just the idea was there. It was solid. And he never wanted a sequel. He never thought that a sequel would be possible, which is cool. I would have been rad but obviously this made him fucking billions of dollars, I'm sure. So good for them. But that, I think because of that, the story he wrote for this was superior than any of the other ones.
That's fair, because like Halloween, I look at it in the same way, because Halloween to me is probably my favorite horror film, and
I can't even.
It has
tell
a
you
whole bunch of
like
Halloween 2 is pretty good, because it's like
doesn't even have him
the
in there,
following day, but then like all the other ones are like whatever to me. So, and I don't even really know if I've seen many of the other. I think
like Halloween 4 is about witches.
Yeah, there's like a curse somewhere, and I don't think Michael Myers is in some of them.
Yeah, and there's
I know he's in
Return, 2. Like Michael Myers, the Return of Michael Myers, like Halloween 5 or 6.
Yeah, and then there's like the H2O ones, and then H2O had a sequel.
Okay, well, hold on.
There's the new ones.
It's a good fucking movie.
That's the first movie Josh Hartnett was ever in.
It's fine.
Halloween H2O is a good movie.
I haven't seen it since
that is not a good movie.
It's better years ago. It's better than Halloween 2 through 8.
I don't know if I've ever seen Halloween 2 through 8.
Exactly, but you have seen Halloween.
I saw H2O because I was like into movies when it came out. It was the first Halloween movie that came out when I was getting into movies. So I guess that's probably why
it came out. Yeah,
and you've seen every Halloween movie since.
I have.
I've seen Rob Zombie's Halloween movies, yes, and I actually saw Danny McBride's Halloween movie. Which
I actually liked Rob Zombie's first Halloween movie.
Yes, Rob Zombie's first Halloween movie.
Great.
Might be just as good as John Carpenter's first Halloween movie in its own right. Like, I'm not saying it's better because it's scarier, but it's a new take on it that hits really fucking hard.
The take he took was he did it justice.
He did. He made it his own.
Probably his best film in my opinion.
Oof, I don't know. But Devil's Rejects is pretty fucking great.
I think I've mentioned. I haven't.
The Haunted World of El Superbeasto is pretty fucking
great too. Yeah. Have you not seen Devil's Rejects, or you just don't like it?
I've seen it.
Yeah.
I wasn't really into it. It's too like I don't know, like felt like one of those like exploitive slashery
Oh, that's what it
over
is.
the
It's an
top films.
exploitation movie.
I just wasn't. And it was just all too ultra violent for me, and like it was more like violence over plot for me.
But
Didn't
that's
like that
how
about it.
every Rob Zombie movie is.
I
That's
know.
Rob
I don't
Zombie's
really like
gimmick.
that.
Rob Zombie's gimmick is that he doesn't
No,
make
I know.
scary movies.
I don't like his gimmick.
He just makes movies that
Do you
are
like
fucking
his
gross.
music?
I understand. Yeah, no, it's the same shit. His music's okay. Like I get it,
Oh, his
but
music's
I
fun.
like it when I was. Yeah, it's fun. I liked it when I was like younger, but it's like now I'm not gonna like it and appreciate it for like good music now.
Dracula is one
But
of the
I get
best
it.
songs ever.
It's still good music.
Dude, I was listening to some White Zombie today because I was trying
Because
to.
you love them.
I was trying to think of more Champ songs, but yeah, there
Well,
was some White
Dracula
Zombie.
is
Dracula.
pretty good.
Thought about adding Dracula. I
Dracula,
didn't, but I
a
thought
great
about it.
intro. I mean, it kind of works. It
Yeah.
works perfectly. Superstition. You know, it's great.
Yeah.
It'd be perfect.
And the chorus is one of the best choruses ever.
Sing it for us.
I'm not gonna sing it, but it's
Dig through the ditches and burn.
Oh, that's
And the
right.
music video. Have you
Yeah,
seen
the
the
music
like?
video's
Remember the
awesome.
music video?
I did appreciate them for like visually they're great. They're super fun. That's what his movies feel like too. They just feel like they're like over the top, too long music videos.
He plays his
music videos
movies
were dope.
at his concerts.
yeah.
Like he plays clips from the movies.
Yeah, of course.
They're great. Oh, I love Rob Zombie. I don't care what you
I
say.
think I've seen him live. I'm not sure.
I think
What'd you
Rob
say,
Zombie
Jake?
definitely made his mark on movies, his own thing. Like House of Thousand Corpses, Devil's Rejects, El Super Bisto, the first Halloween. Well, they're not.
Did he not make the
everyone's
second
cup of tea.
Halloween?
They're pretty great. He did the second one
He
too,
did.
but that one was terrible. That one
not
sucked.
good.
Yeah, I don't really remember it.
Didn't like it.
First one had Danny Trejo in it.
Yeah, first one was cool. Second
Yeah,
one was
first
bad.
one was great.
Halloween
the, first
movies
one,
are great.
the first one was great just because he explored like the background and everything. I think that's why I remember now. That's why he went through his childhood. He set up like why he is who he was, as opposed to just. And then in the new Halloweens, it's just going to like he's just like he's like this dude's not a natural. This dude's supernatural. You know what I mean? He can't survive all the shit, which is a pretty interesting approach.
Well, he's always been impervious to death.
But in the Rob Zombie movies,
Yes.
there's none of that. Like, there's no hint of that, really.
Yeah,
was
he's
just a
basically
regular
just a
dude.
super strong kind of.
Yeah. But back to Freddy. That's what makes these movies sets him apart is that Freddy just has a fucking he has a funny side to him. He has a fun side. You know, he's a serial killer having fun.
Just a serial killer having
He's
a good old
psycho.
time.
He's a
He's
psycho.
like Hannibal Lecter if he wasn't smart.
Well, he's getting his revenge, and he's getting his revenge in the way that he wants, which is
Mhm.
torture.
Hey, good for him.
Good for him. Good for
I like
Robert
that time.
Englund. Have you guys ever
Good
seen
character.
Paper Brigade?
No.
No,
It's great. It's a Disney original movie, I believe.
sick.
It's about a child. He just moved. He moves to a new neighborhood. He meets friends. They ride bikes, and they're like, "We have a paper route," and he like, "I'll be a part of your paper route," and they fucking yeah, and they're like, "It'd be way shorter if we could just cut through this guy's lawn," and it's Robert Englund's lawn, and he's like a Vietnam vet, and if anybody crosses through his lawn, he comes out with paintball guns and he fucking lights them up. And then they eventually make friends with him, and then he helps them beat the bullies. It's a great movie.
Cool.
Robert Englund. That's the
Paper
only other movie
Brigade.
I know that Robert Englund's in, other
Yeah.
than the Freddy movies.
He's a good Freddy.
He's the only Freddy, in my opinion. I don't care too much for the approach they took on the new Freddy movies.
That was like the 2010 Freddy.
Yeah. The dude
Yeah,
from who played
Rorschach,
dude, Rorschach played him, yeah.
Okay.
great actor. They,
Rooney Mara's first starring role, actually.
I like her.
it's like Rooney Mara.
Rooney
Yeah, she
Mara's
was
like
the
the
main
Johnny
role.
Depp of that movie.
Oh,
Mm-hmm.
introducing.
Little breakout.
Yeah.
They brought back the rapey stuff about him. They brought, they make him too creepy. They took away what I loved about him, which was his playfulness.
I think what they had to do
his
though with the
playfulness.
reboot, they had to set it apart a little bit from the original, so they weren't exactly copying everything word for word. So they
I wish
just
Rob
had-
Zombie remade it.
Yeah, sure.
Interesting.
You know who would have been a better fit, in my opinion, for these movies is Eli Roth. I can see Eli Roth being good at these movies.
That would have been sick.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm a person. Just leave well enough alone. It's fine.
Yeah.
Just leave it alone.
Man,
Yeah.
what movie was I watching the other day? I was like, if they remake this movie, just gonna be so sad. Can't remember what it was, but it's like for sure they're gonna do it eventually. It was like there's no way. I wish I could remember what movie it was because it was just one of those movies. Just like you just can't do it. It's just don't do it.
Yeah. Do you know what horror series I wish they would remake in a way that's not campy? Is the Resident Evil series. I feel like those could have been so much better than they were.
Yeah, I never even watched those.
Is that the ones with Mia
they're
Jovovich?
Yeah, they're just over the top. They're like
Djokovic?
action adventure movies where they should be straight up horror movies. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like that's what
I
think
feel like the
about.
first one. Yeah, the first one I thought was cool, but then I think it just kind of got like ridiculous.
Go back and watch the first one again. It's not good. It's really
Okay.
not.
I bet it's not. It's
Yeah.
probably just entertaining, cool.
Yeah.
But like, so I'm sure like story wise, it's probably to do.
It's like
Well, I mean,
maybe it was
hey.
Hocus Pocus. Like, don't remake Hocus Pocus. How are you gonna do
Making a
that? How are you
sequel
gonna
to it.
remake what?
They're making a sequel to Hocus Pocus. All three of them are in too.
What?
Yeah, they are.
All three of the witches,
cool.
but what about anybody else?
The kids are old.
Well, Zachary Binks died, unfortunately. So.
It's Thackeray. Wait, he's dead? Like real life dead?
It's a cat, and they have like 9 lives or something.
It's Thackeray.
Isn't he like haunted or?
Clearly Thackeray.
I don't remember what the cat story is.
What do you mean you don't remember what the cat story is?
I
Have you
don't
not
remember what the
watched this
cat-
14 times in the past
Hocus
3
Pocus?
weeks?
I probably haven't seen Hocus Pocus in a few years. I just don't remember what the cat's backstory was.
Okay, I've probably seen Hocus
Talking
Pocus
cat.
more times than any other movie ever. Ever.
I
Like
should
that
watch it
and
again.
Freddy versus Jason, two of my top
I should
movies.
watch it again.
Hocus Pocus is a pretty great movie.
It's a phenomenal movie. It's a
Yeah.
staple. It's a Halloween staple.
Yeah, true. I haven't seen it in 2 years.
Oh my god.
Definitely enjoyed it as a kid.
So, Anthony, you would say this is your favorite horror movie ever made, or what?
No.
What's your favorite horror movie ever made?
Ooh.
Zombievers.
No. Wrong answer.
The Witch has to be up there right now.
The Witch is fucking solid.
The Witch is definitely my number one.
If we're calling that a horror movie, which we have
100%.
to.
That movie affected me in a way that no other movies ever affected me. And I think the what I mean by that is I didn't expect what it was going to give me, and what it gave me was just dread. I
Chills.
felt like it was
Mhm.
something we shouldn't be watching. I feel like we were watching something that was so personal and so fucked up that I was like, we got to turn this off.
It's like a
We can't
beheading
watch
video.
this.
I considered leaving while watching it just because I was so
Really?
uncomfortable, but it was like that, like effective.
Yeah.
But I've been thinking the exact same thing of like, wow,
Yeah.
I don't know if I should watch this. This is fucked
Yeah.
up.
And the scene
It's not even like violent. It's just so fucking like
visceral.
yeah,
fucking
yeah.
visceral.
It's terrifying. There's
Yeah,
moments of
it's
terrifyingness.
It's just great filmmaking. The cinematography mixed with the soundtrack, mixed with the pacing is just some of the best I've ever seen.
Acting.
Anya
Oh,
Joy
hell yeah.
Taylor.
The
Yeah,
father
that's
and
where
the mother, though. The
Schwartz
father
fell in
and the mother
love
are the
with
ones
Anya
that
Taylor Joy.
True.
the mother and father steal that movie, in my opinion. Though they're fucking creepy.
All of them. The way the writing of it, the acting of the ride, like the old English, just
Yeah.
the cadence of the father's speech
Yeah.
Mhm.
was terrifying.
Black Phillip's fucking terrifying.
Black Phillips, my
Yeah, that
homeboy.
fucking goat. I got some questions for that goat.
I got questions for that goat.
Bro, and in that movie, I think the scene that really fucked me up is when the son dies and he's like preaching from the Bible and talking about how like he's gonna die and feast on the fruits of life and all that shit. I was just like, this is fucked up. And at core, what it's about is just pure people letting evil into their life, and that's what it is. It's just these Puritans, these pure people that just are open to accepting things, and it's evil that they find. It's pretty crazy. Pretty fucking crazy movie.
Quite a movie.
I wish none of us had seen that movie so we could watch that. and talk
I know,
about
right?
it.
Any
I
Roger
feel like there's
Eggers
gonna come
coming
a
out anytime
time
soon?
because I was thinking about this the other day. We're on 70 now, I guess it is, or whatever movies we've done.
Yeah.
And there's gonna come a time, I think, to where we get to about 150, where we're gonna have to start repeating directors. I don't think we're gonna be able to do it at like not repeat directors.
I think we could just do it at like 100.
We'll see.
Maybe. I just don't think we're gonna be able to think of movies that are from different directors after like 150 because that's like 70
really
more movies. Like, can you think of 70 more directors that you haven't repeated? I don't think it's gonna be a thing. I don't think we're gonna be able to.
Oh, yeah, it's a good challenge though.
No, for sure. We should try to
see
do
as far as we go.
Yeah, we should try to do it as far as we can.
To the
I think
moon.
foreign films are what's going to save.
Still
us.
haven't seen a Matthew Schwartz movie.
Oh yeah, true. I got some foreign films coming up.
We could watch Once Upon a Time in Long Beach
somewhere.
We could. That'd be fun.
City. LBC.
Quick mini-sode.
We're gonna try to rank this piece of shit.
We're done already? This is it?
This is it, dude. I'm sick of you. What else you got to say about A Nightmare on Elm Street, 1984, directed by Wes Craven?
I think we all said it, but this is just, when it comes to horror movies, this is one of the all-time just greats. It's iconic. It's just pretty great. I don't know.
When it comes to killers, who do you like more of the 4 contemporary icons, i.e., Leatherface,
my personal
Freddy,
favorite.
Jason? I will include Pinhead, but I have never seen a Pinhead movie.
Ooh, Hellraiser's pretty crazy.
I've never seen
Hellraiser's not quite as scary as it is like just gruesome. Like it's very sexual and it's very Lovecraftian, which I like about it. It's just about a box that someone finds that opens up to another dimension and has to do with just violence and evil or what thrives it. It's pretty cool. But I say Leatherface is my favorite. I think Leatherface is my most favorite villain.
Explain.
I like horror that is more realistic in that it could possibly happen. And that movie just is something that could happen more than this movie.
Just a crazy
dude run after you with a fucking chainsaw. Yeah.
Dude, not all there. Kind of just chainsawing people to death.
And I guess maybe I loved.
Do you think you see more of yourself in Leatherface?
Yeah, if I was gonna be a villain, I would definitely be Leatherface.
I think if I was gonna compare you to one of those guys, I think that's the dude.
Yeah, probably. And we can't. I honestly think, as crazy as this sound in the history of horror, I think Dario Argento is probably my favorite. But my 2 favorite filmmakers right now in horror are Robert Eggers and Ari Aster. Like, they've each only made 2 movies, but both of their films have been fucking masterpieces.
I think even Mr. Fuck, I forgot his name. The dude who did Us and
Peele.
Jordan Peele. I feel like Jordan Peele is up there. If we're just comparing 2 movies.
Yeah, he's great.
Yeah,
both of those movies got me.
Yeah, modern horror. Those 3 are really
pretty great. Yeah.
They're making me real happy. And James Wan. I'm putting James Wan there because I like those style movies.
Yeah, James Wan makes good. I do like those movies too. It's not that I don't like those movies. I just like the other ones a little better. But I have to give James Wan props and credit where it's due because his movies are quality. His movies, except for his last. I did not like his last film. I don't.
Malignant.
I didn't like that.
Left
movie.
A little to be desired.
I didn't like that movie at all.
Outside of Wan though, like those other 3, I think like the psychological horror recently has been good shit, and I think we talked about that a little bit earlier. Like psychological horror is like some of the best shit because this movie had it with the whole dream stuff. Like you're just in their heads. It's interesting.
It was psychological to a certain extent.
Yeah.
It's scary. It's a scary movie.
It was scary.
I got scared.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's what
I can't imagine. I would like to hear someone's interpretation that doesn't know, that has never heard who Freddy Krueger was, and is interested in watching. Like, I would love to hear what they have to say. If they were more scared, if Jesus Christ, if it frightens, if the whole idea of like the dream guy frightens him more, or if it's, I don't know, he might be just too cliche at this point to really frighten people. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. What about you, Jake? If you had to pick a horror icon, who's yours?
I mean, I gotta go with Michael Myers. Yeah. He's just because I'm a Halloween fan all the way. Yeah. I just always love that movie.
Ding 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 ding.
That's exactly. And like that score. It's beautiful. It's like
I love the music to this.
it is pretty good. I mean, John Carpenter is the master of horror scores, and really, he's just great with scores in general with his films. So,
You ever seen the
John-
score? It's
John
nothing to
Carpenter.
do with John Carpenter.
the score's good. Yeah.
The score with fucking Rob De Niro and Edward Norton. Great movie.
Great movie.
You know who directed that movie? Kermit
Yeah.
the Frog. Frank
That's a good
Oz.
one. Frank
Frank
Oz,
Oz
dude.
directed that movie.
Herbert the Frog.
Yoda directed that
God.
movie.
Fucking Yoda directed the score. Was
Forgot
that his
his connection to
directorial
those.
debut?
No, but it's one of his better movies.
Was the last of Brando.
I was gonna say, wasn't Brando in that movie?
Last
Yeah.
movie, I think. Yeah.
He was the big fat guy.
I
Yeah.
was on a razor blade like a slug in a snail shell.
That's my Marlon Brando impression.
Nailed it.
Yeah.
Well, what do you think? Should we rank them?
I've been trying to rank it. Schwartz is hating.
Yeah. Got any more to say, Schwartz? What else you got?
Nothing left to say.
Nothing left to say.
Strong female lead, great villain, iconic, and pretty good.
Okay, I do have one
cinematography.
thing to say. So since we're talking about how much you love John Carpenter and how innovative, and John Carpenter is one of the strongest independent filmmakers of all time.
Mhm.
Wes Craven, in his own right, is just as big and great as John Carpenter in his own way. So if we're going to talk Wes Craven movies, is this better than Scream, or is Scream better than this? How about that?
Yeah, what's
hard
the
to say.
What's the best Wes Craven movie? What's your favorite?
It's
Wes
got to
Craven?
be Last House on the Left, Hills Have Eyes, Scream, or this. Like, out of those four films, which
I'll
one
take
would
the
you go?
first two out because they're great. They're iconic in their
I
own right.
think
They were
these
shocking
two-
for what they do,
Yeah.
but I think this movie's better than that. And I think Scream is better than that.
I think Scream is better than this, personally.
Scream. It took so much from this. Like, now that I saw this, like Scream, I loved. Scream has always been one of my favorite movies, but it was generationally like, just it came out at the right time, I think, for us.
Yeah.
Is it taking so much, or is it just the style of the writer director?
It might just be the style of the writer. But like I said before, it almost just felt like they were in the same town, in like the same school.
Well,
These were just
Kevin
teenagers
Williamson,
later.
the guy who made Dawson's Creek, wrote Scream. Wes Craven didn't write Scream.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I don't know. It's hard to say which one I would like better. Probably Scream for now, but like I do really appreciate this movie.
I
a
just
lot.
like Scream, I think, because of how meta it was and the fact that it just took a genre and it was literally like, it was the easiest. It was a very plain and simple story that Wes Craven took and just made a really, really, really good movie out of. Like, that could have been a pretty bad movie if someone as talented as Wes Craven didn't direct it, but he really made it like really good. Like, it was awesome. And the ending of Scream, the last 20 minutes of that movie, might be one of the best endings of any film of all time. Like, that's just a great fucking last 20 minutes.
That makes me want to see New Nightmare more because of the whole Scream was very meta, and then he seems to do meta well.
This
Yeah.
show's meta as fuck. I mean, New
Yeah.
Nightmare's meta as fuck.
Yeah.
We should do that. We should do that tomorrow. We'll just release a double Halloween special. We should watch
Halloween
Halloween.
special.
We should discuss Halloween. We'll release it on Halloween. We'll talk about it after this.
Okay.
Should we rank it? I don't know. It's gonna be hard to rank it.
40.
The rank
40, solid.
40.
Schwartz got 40.
40. I'm going 32.
Oh wow, you guys already have it.
Yeah, I was thinking about it.
Oh, that's where I have
It's
Zombievers.
still
This is
great.
way better than Zombievers.
You have Zombie 32. That's
Yeah,
pretty high.
I have Zombievers at 44 now, 45. So
That's
this
pretty
is
high.
still better than Zombievers.
Let's see.
At least I'm giving you that.
It's definitely better than Zombievers.
I love Zombievers.
I didn't hate it, I guess. What movie were we talking about? Nightmare on Elm Street.
Nightmare on the Elm.
Let's see. 23. Put it at 23 for Anthony.
23 for
How you like me now?
It's
How
pretty
you
cool.
like me now?
It's right below Drag Me to Hell.
Right below Drag Me to Hell.
I'm
See,
sorry.
this is
22, right above Drag Me to Hell.
Yeah, it's definitely better than Drag Me to Hell.
Right above Drag Me to Hell.
Drag Me to Hell is a great movie.
Or should I put it at 16?
That's quite a. That's not quite of a difference. I guess it's
I'm gonna
it's a bit of a
keep it.
difference.
Yeah, I'm going 23, not
You know what is dope?
22. 22.
You know what's dope about just thinking about the fact that we've seen all Ari Aster and Robert Eggers movies is that when both of their movies drop next year, we can do them both. We can do The Northman and we can do Disappointment Boulevard, which would be cool.
Right.
I wish we hadn't done it at Edgar Wright.
Why? We could have done last night.
Because-
So
Yeah, looks real good.
yeah, it does look good.
You know what we could do coming up? I don't know how soon this is, but the Adam McKay movie with Leo and
Yeah, don't
Jonah
look
Hill.
up.
Yeah, don't
Yeah.
look up.
That's gonna be awesome.
That
That's
looks
gonna
great,
drop on Netflix.
And
yeah.
I think that it's going to be on Netflix, so we could definitely do that one
I'm down with that.
when that comes out.
I think we've seen all Adam McKay's movies, so it probably has to be that.
Probably.
Yeah,
I've seen all the Adam McKay movies, Anthony.
yeah, he's seen them all. For
I'm
sure.
pretty sure I've seen them all.
You see The
I've been
Big
wa-
Short?
Yeah, oh, yeah.
You see Vice?
Yeah.
You
Vice.
saw Step Brothers. You saw Step Brothers. You saw.
I've seen
Other
all
Guys,
the
you saw
dumb ones.
Talladega Nights. You saw Anchorman. So you've seen all his movies.
Other guys.
Yeah.
Probably my favorite one.
Yeah, we've seen his movies.
Cool. Nightmare on Elm Street. Happy Halloween, motherfuckers.
Happy Halloween.
Shout out to the Big Cat Meow. Happy Halloween, Big Cat.
Shout out to Reed.
Shout out to Reed. And Reed's mom, because she's probably a nice lady.
Sharon. She is a nice lady.
Sharon Reed.
Sharon Reed. Yeah, they share the same first name.
Wasn't Reed's name Reed Reed?
Yep. Just
That's
like Mario.
I thought so.
Shout out to Danny Tiara.
Indeed. Happy Halloween to everyone.
Tiara loves Halloween, so that's a good shout out.
Spooky shout outs.
Shout out to Wes Craven. If you're listening, all right, baby.